So today I want to talk about getting started on a project or a goal or pretty much anything where it may be a little bit harder to get started. I think it can feel hard to know the right place to start, especially when you're diving into a territory that's ambiguous, uncomfortable, unknown. And so this is pretty much my thoughts on how to do that. I've gone through lots of different scenarios in my life where I kind of jumped into things without having a strong background in it or any type of educational knowledge to learn these things. And so, how exactly did I get started? Well, believe it or not, the first thing that I did was I just got on Google and I searched whatever it is, how do I ice skate? How do I code? How do I know how to deal with people? There's 9 times out of 10 a wiki how on how to do it. And also 9 times out of 10, it never really captures exactly what you want to do, obviously, unless you're doing something that has to do with athletics or exercise where there's a proper form and everything. But I found that a lot of times in the creative space or when you start working with projects that are a lot more ambiguous than understanding athletics and how physics are involved in it, it can be a lot more mysterious to figure out. So, figuring out how to draw, for example, there's hundreds of different styles that somebody can do. And so, how do you know where you want to start? Outside of searching for a simple question on Google, I think that part of the answer also comes from searching an internal search bar or like an internal repository, an internal database first, you know? Try and search the same question in your head. And let's take the art example. When there's 100 different art styles to learn, you kind of ask yourself, what art style would you like to learn? And I'm saying a lot of you, but honestly, it's relevant to my own experience, especially when I tried to draw, and I've kind of got the hang of being a beginner, but I'm nowhere near as good as some of the artists that I have in my life. Another thing to do is to ask yourself why. So, outside of knowing how to do things, it's important to figure out why you want to learn specific art styles or why you want to get a new job or learn a new hobby. I hope that the reason for learning something is because you want to have fun and you want to learn new experiences in life and you want to enjoy and find a passion. But sometimes there are different motives behind it, like needing to have a higher income or needing to learn things for school, etc. So it's important to know why you're doing things because it, I feel like it really correlates to where you start to find sources of motivation. So, for example, if you're doing it just to have fun, then your motivation is because you thoroughly enjoy it. And if your motivation is to make more money, then the source of your motivation would be to think, "Oh, well, I really want to make a lot more money," and that'll kind of fuel the fire behind you. But if you don't know why you're doing it, it becomes hard to constantly fuel the fire that is motivation. I like to think that motivation is like an emotion. It's like being happy and being sad, and just like any other emotion, it kind of comes and goes. And the best way to be consistently motivated, just like how you can be consistently happy, is to start to frame things in a way where you can provide a consistent source of that thing. So, a consistent source of happiness, a consistent source of motivation. Another thing that I thought about was how it can be lonely to do certain projects, especially when you try to deviate from what your current support group does or what your current community or friend group does on a daily basis. It's already difficult to start something new, and it's even more difficult when there's nobody around that's walking the same path as you. And I totally understand that. I've gone through that type of environment multiple times, and I think it's something that I'm still struggling with. It's something that I'm still trying to figure out, and I'm, constantly trying to find different communities that I can resonate more with. And so I guess what I had to say for that in terms of advice is to just try and continue doing what you're doing, and hopefully the community finds you, or you find the community after working on that one thing enough times. When I was learning to draw, even though it didn't last that long, I think I'd say that I tried drawing for 2 to 3 months. I eventually started to try and find groups on my own, even though it wasn't really necessary for me to learn. I I found courses that I can learn from, YouTube videos. I even found this whole entire tutorial or online course that was written down so that anybody can learn how to draw on their own time and do it at their own pace. So eventually, I think I just ended up finding those communities, those Discords, Facebook groups that had a bunch of people that were kind of doing the same thing as I was. And it helped make it a little bit less. Yeah, it helped make it a little bit less lonely. The reason why I hesitate is because it just feels a little different, especially if you're not invested in the community for months or years. It can still feel like even when you join those communities, you don't really have anyone around you. For that specific feeling, I would say that I tried joining smaller communities, and that helped a lot. It helped me feel like I had a voice and that people responded to me. And obviously, in smaller communities, there's less feedback. So it really depends on what you're going for. If you're trying to get feedback for something that you created, then obviously the best thing to do would be going into a big, large group where you can instantly get feedback, where lots of people see what you do. But if you're trying to build genuine connections, then look into smaller communities because it can probably work out a lot better. So yeah, that's all I had to say on the topic. I don't really know if I said anything cohesively, and I didn't really write a lot of this stuff down. I thought it was just something different, but it was also something very genuine. I didn't want to create steps or try and create this how-to guide on how to start a project, because the truth is that everybody starts things differently. So I guess I was just kind of pertaining to my own experiences, and hopefully it helps. Let me know if you have any questions or any topics that you want me to cover, and I will be glad to try and cover them. Peace.